and welcome to Weighing Down with Robin. Today we're going to make gumbo. This is an old family recipe. My parents had several seafood restaurants as I was growing up, and this was like one of their signature dishes. Now, before my mom passed away, I realized that it was very important for me to know some of my heritage. So I asked her for the recipe, and like a good Southern cook, she didn't have a recipe. She just kind of pinch of this, a handful of that, you know. So she gave me the ingredients, and I had to figure out on my own how much of each thing to get the right taste. So I'm passing that on to you. This great family recipe of gumbo. So good. Okay, you're looking at, I calculated this at 12 servings. Now, this makes a lot of gumbo. So I can imagine that there's well more than 12 servings, and that's about a cup a serving is what I'm thinking. One thing that I'm doing a little bit differently than the recipe calls for, normally you would use 4 cans of white tuna in water for your fish to give it that seafood taste. I have some leftover tilapia. I actually have 3 pieces that I just kind of grilled with some seasoning. So I'm actually going to use that, and that's actually less points than the tuna fish. So, you know, you just want to make sure that you calculate and that you're getting exactly what you want to get and put in. I prefer the tilapia because it's fresher than the tuna fish, but the tuna fish is fine as well. So the first thing we're going to do to start, we're going to use 2 tablespoons of vegetable oil so we can saute our vegetables and get it nice and good. And you can use Pam if you want to, or if you have a nonstick pot, you can use that as well. But I'm going to use the oil just because I don't want to veer too much from the recipe, because I want it to be delicious. Alright, so I put my 2 tablespoons of oil down there. I'm going to start letting that get warm. My stove is already hot. The second thing that we're going to do after we get our oil a little bit warm, we're going to put some celery and onions in. Now, you can put as much as you want. The recipe doesn't call. I usually just grab a handful of, if you like celery and onion. You won't really taste it when you're finished because it pretty much cooks down to nothing. You're going to need a bag of white salad shrimp. You're going to need gumbo file. Now, gumbo file has no nutrition value on it, and you just need to kind of season it to taste as well as you like. Crystal's hot sauce. Now, this is a staple here in this house. I don't know if you eat a lot of oysters or whatever, you'll have this around. If not, just buy it. And you're just going to use basically 1/4 of the bottle. So if you've already made it once, you're just going to have to calculate 1/4 of that as well. You're going to use a big thing of V8 juice, just a regular V8 juice. That's going to pretty much be your soup. And then you got some okra. Okra is 0 points, so you can put as much in it or as little in it as you want to as well. So we're just going to start throwing everything together. I'm going to go ahead and start sauteing my celery and onions. Just so you can kind of see here about how much I put in there. Not too much. Like I said, it makes a huge pot. Just stir that around until it's translucent. Because you're using frozen vegetables, there'll be plenty of water in there, and the oil, you don't have to worry about really burning them unless you cook them too high. I usually cook everything on about medium. Okay, now basically all you're going to do is just mix everything else together. I would wait on the shrimp and the okra until it's simmered for a little while, because you really don't want your shrimp to be tough and you don't want your okra to be all to pieces. So I'm just going to go ahead and add everything else. You got 2 cans of diced tomatoes. I add the juice as well. You're going to add those 2 cans. No points for the tomatoes, by the way. Alright, I've got my can of tuna fish. Again, the original recipe, if you don't have any other kind of fish, calls for 4 cans. If you just want to add another kind of fish, and no tuna fish is fine too. But you need to drain them. So I'm just going to grab my spoon here. Just going to add those in. And this is albacore tuna, so it's still nice and chunky. So it makes your guests or your family look like they're getting a lot of good seafood. You can even put crab meat in here. Crab meat is very low in points as well. I was actually going to buy some the other day, but I had other shopping to do and I didn't want it to go bad in the car. You're going to add your full bottle of V8 juice. You want to shake it up because you got all this goodness at the bottom. I'm going to pour the whole thing in here. So I'm going to add all my leftover tilapia. Stir that up. Gumbo file, just to taste, you want to keep adding this. I really don't know what it does because it really smells yucky in the bottle, but it seems to kind of do the trick. You really can't mess it up, kind of. All right, a fourth bottle of your Crystal's hot sauce. If you like it kind of hot, spicy, add more. If you're not really a big fan of spice, it doesn't really make it spicy. It just gives it a nice tang. You just want to taste this to your liking, and you want more? Add more. Don't add too much first because you can't take it back, right? All right, we want to season with salt and pepper too as well. So what we have here is really, really good. Let me get up and move the camera so you can see so far what we have. Good stuff. Right here. When we add the okra and the shrimp, it'll be delicious. So you just want to let this simmer for a while, as long as you've got actually. The longer you have, the better it'll taste. So I'm going to let mine simmer, and when I add the shrimp and the okra, we'll come back so we can see the finished product. Alright, so I'm back here with the gumbo. I put in the shrimp, and I made a boo-boo. Instead of, I thought I had salad shrimp, instead I had white shrimp right here. So I actually had to peel them, but that was okay. And I added the okra, and I just let all of this shrimp and the okra simmer down. So it's been simmering for a couple hours now. I just wanted to show you what it looks like because we're starving and we're ready to eat. There you go. That is so good. I wish you could smell it right now. And this freezes well also. So thanks for joining Weighing Down with Robin.